All right, good afternoon. It's 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, May 2nd, special city council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Nicole, would you do roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Bogosian. Councilmember Hahn is on the, he is on the phone.
Yep.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Councilmember Popson
Here.
is on the phone. Councilmember Anderson
Gotta go off.
Sorry, here.
is on the phone. Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
Mayor Pounds.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. First item is citizens' comments.
Mr. Tesler.
Go.
I am Stuart Tesler. I live at 349th Avenue. I have lived there for a bit more than 32 years. Mayor Pounds, council members, good afternoon. I thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I am not in favor of the proposed ordinance that is the subject of this meeting without significant modification. It appears to be a knee-jerk reaction to the true assault our community recently experienced. But as written, I believe it will provoke more negative impressions of our community. First, there is ambiguity. In subsection A, weddings on the beach are exempt from this requirement, but must follow the verbiage that is required, that is identified. Well, what is the wedding situation exempt from? It doesn't really specify. Is the information identified different in any substantive way from the unspecified information required from the applicant for any other type of assembly? If the answer is yes, then the required information should be identified in the ordinance so that the appropriateness can be debated here prior to implementation and enforcement. There are aspects of the proposed ordinance which are problematic from a perspective of prior restraint. Requiring that for the purpose of acquiring a permit to assemble on public property, including the beach and beach access paths, the applicant gathering must meet at least one of the following objectives, and 4 were identified: have a positive impact on the quality of life for residents, enhance the image of the city, benefit the city financially, or promote tourism or benefit the business community between September 10 and April 30. This is a form of censorship, prohibiting contrary speech or expression before it happens. I agree with the prohibited activities identified, however. The inclusion that the city is willing to provide is also prior restraint. The applications be submitted to the chief of police at least 60 days prior to the planned gathering, I believe is onerous and excessively long, unless the emphasis that the chief agrees to a shorter period. This is a significant departure from the objectivity that one typically expects of a permitting agency of the government. I recommend that the council defeat this ordinance as it is proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Good. Thank you, sir. So purpose of our meeting is consideration of second reading of ordinance 2023-05 to require a permit from the Isle of Palms Police Department for events or gatherings on public property, including the beach, that are expected to involve more than 25 people. So just point of order real quick, I think we're going to have some changes based on our city attorney and other comments and feedback. So what I'd like to do is we can have a motion to discuss, and then we'll have a motion to amend here in a minute.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Desiree, thank you. You want to walk through changes real quick, Desiree, that, and this was just emailed out a half hour ago, give or take, from our city attorney, so. And
Yes,
Desiree's got it on the screen here in the room. Sorry,
That's
Desiree.
correct, and those that are watching, it's also available online next to the meeting agenda for the meeting tonight under other files, so that folks can also follow it. But I've also put it on the screen so I could show you the most recent changes that we received from the city attorney that we would propose you all approve as part of second reading the ordinance as amended. But I'll go ahead and talk through what those changes are. First section under definitions, the definition of gathering has been changed to include those that are meeting of more than 50 people in one place for a collective purpose. So from 25 going up to 50. Section 882, permission from the city required for gatherings on public property, including the beach and beach access paths. I'll go ahead and just read what the changes are, and if you all have any specific questions, let me know. The city attorney, Mac McQuillan, is not able to be here today, but he is available by phone if there are any specific questions for him. Subsection A, permission from the Palms Police Department in the form of a permit is required for gatherings on public property, including the beach and beach access paths that are expected to involve more than 50 people. The permit requirement is designed to A, protect resources, the environment, and wildlife on Isle of Palms, address concerns of public safety, prevent interference with the public's use of any street or the beach for more than half a block of the beach between March 1st and September 9, and D, to ensure the city is able to provide adequate public safety, litter cleanup, and traffic control. Subsection C talks about the permit for gatherings of more than 50 people on public property, including the beach and beach access paths, shall be issued unless it is determined that the time, duration, route, location, or size of the gathering would A, unreasonably interrupt the safe and orderly movement of vehicular or pedestrian traffic or the normal use of public property in a place open to the general public. B, threaten the environment or endanger wildlife. C, require diversion of so great a number of police or fire personnel to properly police the line of movement in the areas contiguous thereto so as to impair the normal protection of the remainder of the city. D, unduly interfere with the proper fire and police protection of or ambulance service to the remainder of the city, or unreasonably disrupt other public services, including traffic control and litter cleanup, normally provided to the city. E, interfere with the public's use of any street or the beach for more than half a block of the beach between March 1st and September 9. F, interfere with another gathering for which a permit has been granted. Or G, violate or not conform with any applicable state regulations or laws governing the proposed gathering. Another section D has been amended to read, no permit shall be issued that involves a walk, run, or race of more than 50 people between March 1st and September 9. E, the Isle of Palms Police Department may not deny a permit based upon political, social, or religious grounds or reasons or based upon the contents of the views expressed. We have changed section C. It's now listed as subsection F. Applications for permits must be submitted to the chief at least 14 days prior to the planned gathering, unless the applicant shows good cause. Within 7 days of the application submittal, the Isle of Palms Police Department shall provide notice to the applicant as to whether the permit request is granted or denied. If the permit is denied, the denial shall specify the reasons for denial. G, the application shall describe the time, place, duration, nature of the event, number of expected participants, name and contact information, including cell phone numbers of the person or persons who will be responsible for responding to complaints or handling problems. An applicant whose permit is not approved may appeal to the city administrator within 48 hours, and said appeal must be acted upon within 2 working days after receipt. I, it shall be unlawful to have a gathering of more than 50 people on public property, including the beach and beach access paths, without a permit. And a violation of this ordinance would be a misdemeanor punishable pursuant to section 1366. And then the final section would include an exemption for city-sponsored events that are already been approved by city council, and city programs, including recreation department programs, would be exempt from the requirements of this ordinance and are not required to obtain a permit.
Katie, sorry.
So the March 1st through September 9th that comes in occasionally, is this all year? I'm trying to understand the significance of the March 1st through September 9th because it seems to be confusing.
I think that the intent would be that between those dates, the city is saying ahead of time that we would not approve any permits for events that would include a walk, run, or a race on the beach.
Okay, because there's another that just says prevent, interfere, public's use of the beach, blah, 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 between March 1st and September 9th.
Really busy season. I mean, spring break.
It's just, yeah, it's just
Labor
the dates between spring break and after Labor Day.
Do we have any runs now between March the 1st and
We have-
Memorial
the
Day?
beach
Don't we have a
run.
couple on the
It's-
beach?
It's the
Sullivan's-
city's event, the city's beach run.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
And Sullivan's
that's
just
okay.
approved.
and that's okay.
Yes, that's
Because that's a city
an
approved.
event that the city puts together.
I just agreed, with Mr. Tesler, is that correct? Yes. With your comments, I think we're, want to make sure that we're not in violation of our First Amendment rights. And have we made the corrections to,
Yes,
I think
subsection,
his speech and the email he gave us was excellent, and
And I think these changes, Jimmy, are addressing some of that based on Mac's
that's
comment.
correct. Subsection E, Councilmember Ward, to your point, we added a section that states that the police department may not deny a permit based upon political, social, or religious grounds or reasons based upon the contents of the views expressed.
okay, there you go.
You okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Rusty?
Yeah, what was the thought process on changing from 25 to 50? Was that Mac's suggestion?
Yes, sir.
I think there was some case law around the numbers.
Yes, there is some case law that speaks to what a constitutional gathering would be and whether or not a municipality can control a particular size. So he suggested a higher number of 50.
I do like the way the permit requirements are expressed now. They're more positive, more, I think, much easier to understand and to follow, basically, in terms of what requirements that we put in place. More specific.
And another change that we did, we removed the exemption of weddings. We had a section there that would still require weddings, would have still required wedding parties to notify the police department and provide essentially the same information we would include in an application for a permit. So we figured, to make sure that everybody's being treated equally, that they would not be exempted from the ordinance. We are exempting city programs, city events, because we put them together. We make sure that when we do, we have enough adequate resources to ensure the public safety of folks who attend those events.
Yeah, Kevin, Blair, or Jan? Blair, go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is Blair. With the change from 25 to 50 people, I would just like to hear from Chief Cornett on that, and if he is okay with that change, or if he would suggest a different size limit.
He's coming, Blair.
Thanks.
I do not have an objection to the number of 50. When I initially presented this, I recommended somewhere around 30 or 40. That's consistent with Mount Pleasant, from what I was told from their police department. So 50, I think, is fair, and it's easy for us to still enforce that as well.
Blair, could you hear that response?
I did. Thank you, Chief. Mayor, I've got no other questions. That's
All right.
great. Thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, Chief, this is just a question to you. I'm sure you've gone through this ordinance as well, and do you find that it's acceptable and enforceable from your perspective and gives you a better tool to manage the crowds going forward?
Yes, sir. Not only did I go through it, I talked with some of my team about it to see how they saw it. We talked through any questions that we had, and we all feel comfortable with it.
Great.
So how would you go about enforcing it? Like, if are you, like the event that we've heard that could be coming, or, would y'all be standing at the beach access path and telling people they had to leave, or how does that work?
First, the group would have to gather first for us to be able to say that they were unlawfully gathered without a permit. Once they were gathered and we could tell that it was a group that was in violation, if they did not have a permit, we would just ask to see that permit. Typically, I think these are going to be such few numbers that I'll know if a permit's been issued or not. We get a lot of permits already for, not a lot, we get permit requests already for amplified music, and even that number is so low that we easily share that amongst the police department so everybody knows. This will be the same way. If we do see a group that gathers and they don't have a permit, then we would ask them to disperse. We could charge individuals. Our first method would be to disperse without unless they had the permit.
Thanks.
And to educate. At the end of the day, I don't think there's any intent to tell people they cannot gather. It's just that we want them to be able to do so, and that we have the resources we need to find the person in charge if we have incidents that are getting out of control or maybe litter left on the beach, which is what we typically see from large groups, and they could address that, and we can contact them to make sure they clean it up.
Thank you, Chief. Jan or Kevin, anything?
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve
As amended.
as amended.
And waive the reading. I already read the entire ordinance, but just for the record.
So we've got a motion to approve as amended, waiving the reading.
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion, comments, questions?
One other question, Mr. Mayor, and this is to the chief, but we changed from 60 days permittal period, I guess, to 14. Does that give you enough time to be able to deal with that?
Yes, sir. With the way this is written, if we don't have the resources to safely allow this to happen, then it wouldn't be something that we would permit. But most of these are going to be just fine, and I don't think we'd have any issues. 14 days gives us more than enough time to know whether we're going to have the personnel to help them or not.
Okay, thank you.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There being no